Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful week and you got to build some pretty advanced dashboard apps with Dash and Plotly. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the upload component as part of the Dash core components here on the left side. The upload component is something that allows you to build a dashboard like this, where you give the user of your app the possibility to upload their own data and analyze their own data, right? So here we just gave the user of our app the possibility to upload their Excel sheet into our app that we created. In the Excel sheet, they can create a bar graph by saying, I want to choose a year as the x-axis and number of convicts as the y-axis, create graph, and now they're able to create a bar graph that analyze their own data. And even before the graph is created, they have a table, a dash data table that is created from their Excel sheet. So this is pretty much a representation of their CSV and Excel sheet of all the columns and rows and the data in there, which is just convicts, detainees, and people under trial within and across India. I'm also going to share on so I'm going to talk about this today, and I'm also going to share on my GitLab this code right here, which adds another callback or two that allows you to build an app where the user can choose what graph they want to have on their computer, right? Maybe they want to have a scatter plot that shows the correlation between convicts and people under trial. So they'll create this graph, and now we'll scroll up and they'll see that there's a slight correlation between the number of people under trial and the number of convicts in each region in India. So this will be under my GitLab. To get started, before we go over this code today, let me close this so it doesn't slow my computer down a little bit. Stop. Close. So before we go into the code today, I'm putting this on my GitHub so you have access to it. Jupyter uploading is the Jupyter file, or I created is a Python ID in PyCharm. You can download this code right here, which is exactly the same code. All right, I'm going to put the GitLab this link under the video so you can download the code. All right, so let's get started. Open up this code right here, Jupyter Lab, jup uploading Jupyter file, and let us go over it so you see exactly how we are building this app for our users. Oh, just a quick self-promotion here. I do ask that if you have it in the means that you support me on Patreon or my YouTube membership. These are the accounts that allow me to create this kind of free education for you. So hopefully with your support, I'll be able to create more tutorials and more content similar to this one that can help you learn Dash and Plotly. Thank you. Okay, I'll put the Patreon and YouTube link under the video. All right, so let's go into the code right here. First, obviously, I'm importing all the libraries. Now, this part of the code is taken from Dash, from this web page right here, from the Dash documentation. I just added a callback or two at the very bottom with the bar graph. So we import all the libraries. We're just going to put a style sheet, and then we start our app, and then we're going to have our main layout. So this is our main layout before we even upload anything, right? Let's play this, let's run it, and you'll see this is our layout. It's just an upload component with a select files link component, right? So this is it. Upload component, the dash upload component, and inside of it there's a select files html.a component to it, which is a link. So if you can click on select files, you can select a file, or you just drop the file from here, from the user's computer into the app. And then we're just styling it so it looks like this, long and thin. And then multi-true. I'm not going to do multiple Excel sheets or multiple uploads. I'm just going to do one here. And then we have two empty divs. Now in this empty div in the bottom, the output data table, is going to house, it's going to contain the information returned from the first callback. So I'm returning this children, or all this information that we'll go over soon is returned, which is the data table, is returned here, right? So that is why if I upload the cast Excel sheet here, then you can see that this data table and these drop downs, empty drop downs, are returned, right? And then this second div right here, output div, this is tied to the second callback. This is tied to this callback right here, you see, in the output. So whatever I return in this callback, which is a bar graph, is going to return into this div right here, which is between the data table and the upload component. So it's going to return right here above, right? And that's why when you see year and you see convicts, you'll see that it's returned right under the right between the drop down, the upload component, and the drop downs in the data table. All right, so now let's look at the callback. That was the layout. Let's skip this function, parse contents, all the way down here, and let's go directly into the callback. So what we're doing with the callback is we are taking the input of the contents, right, which is, okay, first of all, we're taking these three props from the upload data, which is the upload component, right? Upload data, you'll see here, is the upload component, and we're taking three props. We're taking the data, oops, where is it? The contents, the file name, and the last modified. These exist. If you go to the dash documentation, you'll see that these exist right here, right? File name, last modified, and contents right here. And each one of them is, means something. So as soon as you upload an Excel sheet or a CSV sheet or an image into the upload component, into right here, as soon as you do that, these props have some data in them, right? So we're going to take these props as inputs and states, and we're going to say if the list of contents, this one right here, is not none, meaning if there is an Excel sheet or some data in there, then do something, right? What we're going to do is we're going to create a list, and inside this list, we are going to zip these three arguments, these three data points, and we're going to loop over them and put them inside the this function that we created, the parse contents, right? So this function will activate itself and it will return something inside of this children, right? So let's see what this is returning. This parse contents is right here. So this equals the C, this equals the N, and this equals the D, right? Right here, which is equal to list of contents, names, and dates. And it's taking that, it's doing something with it, and then it's returning this HTML div, which with a bunch of drop downs and data table and storing data and another paragraph here. So again, slowly, we're looping over these data points, and then we're putting them inside this function. And in this function, we are returning a big HTML div right here. So this full HTML div is actually going to be returned right here, like this, right? And then this is returned right here, which is inside our output data table children, which actually goes inside of here. Okay, an empty div. So let's look at this function. What are we doing here? This is, you don't have to worry about it too much because this you can pretty much copy paste. It's the function that was created by dash documentation and will rarely change. But we're looking at the contents of the upload component. We're splitting them up into a string and a type. And then we're saying, we're decoding it, and then we're saying if the file name prop inside the upload component has CSV in it, then we can assume it's a CSV document, and then we just create a pandas data frame by reading that document. If it's an Excel sheet, if it has XLS in the file name, then we can assume it's an Excel sheet, and we create a pandas data frame by reading the Excel sheet, pd.read Excel sheet. And then we'll return an error if there's an exception. All right, so really what this part is doing right here is just returning or creating a pandas data frame, DF, from either an Excel sheet or a CSV sheet. So now that we have our pandas DF created, or pandas data frame created, now we can start returning things. And what we're returning here is an HTML div of, first of all, our H5 file name. So let's go in here and let's do this again from the very beginning. We'll see if I upload cast as an Excel sheet, the first thing it returns is a cast.csv because that's the name of the Excel sheet, right? Right here. And then we are returning the date time of, or the date in a different timestamp, the date of this upload component, right here. The date of this upload component, which is this date when it was, I think, last modified. And then we are returning just a sentence, insert, or inset, should be insert, x-axis data, right here. And then Dropdown, which has the options of, which has multiple options, multiple values inside the options dropdown, right inside the dropdown. And these values are each column header of the data frame. Remember, we already created the data frame here, right here. So now that we have it, we're just going to access each and every column header or column title, and we're going to make an option out of it. So you can see here we have a state name, is state, year, gender, and that is the options that we have here as well. Same thing for the this drop down and this drop down. Both have the same options here and here. And then we're creating a button because we're going to use this button later, right underneath. A horizontal line, html.hr, and then we're putting the data into a data table, a dash data table, with only 15 rows per page. You see, there's 15 rows, and you can go to the next layer to the next page. And then we're storing the data. Now we're going to store the data frame into the client's, the user's browser, because we're going to use that store data to create a bar graph or a scatter graph or a scatter plot or whatever. Store data, you don't want to store more than 2-3 megabytes on the client's browser, especially if it's a phone. I mean, if it's a computer, you can store up to like 5-7 megabytes, but it shouldn't be too big. Just be careful of that. You can't use this for big Excel sheets with that are very large. Okay, and then you're just returning like debugging information. If you don't want this, you don't have to put this in there. You probably shouldn't put it in there for a live app. This is just for you for debugging. All right, so now that we have this function that returned all that information, especially the data table, now we can go into the second callback that actually creates the bar graph. And here's what the second callback is doing. It's going to take information from all of these inputs and states. It's going to use them inside the function, the callback function, and then it's going to spit out a graph, which is the bar graph. It's going to spit out this dash graph component with a bar graph or bar plot inside of it. And it's going inside the children of this empty div that we had right here in the layout. It's going to go in here above the data table and drop downs, but below the upload component, right? So what is it doing? It's taking the end clicks of the submit button, and that is the input. That means that only the button is going to trigger the callback. State means that we'll take all this information, but if this information changes, the y-axis or the x-axis, it's not going to do anything until we actually trigger the callback with the submit button by clicking on the button. All right, that's the difference between input and state. So now we're taking the end clicks or the end, we're taking the regular data from the stored data that we stored in the with the data table. X data, this is the first drop down and this is the second drop down. And we're saying if n is none, if the button was not clicked, then return no update. Then don't update this callback. Don't update anything in the return in the output. However, if data else, like if the button was clicked, then build a bar graph. We'll create a barfig object, and it's going to be plotlyexpress.bar. So this is the bar a method from plotlyexpress, and we're going to have the data frame is going to be data. Remember, this data is this data, which refers to this data right here from the store data. So let's go, where is the store data again? The store data is right here, right? And here's the data. So it actually refers to the data frame that the user uploaded with their Excel sheet or CSV sheet. It refers to all of this, right? Not as a data table, but as a pandas data frame or a DF dictionary. So we're taking this data right here, and we're going to spit it out as the data frame being used in the plotlyexpress bar graph. The x-axis of the bar graph is going to be the x data, which is this, which refers to the value of the first dropdown, right? X data, where's the first dropdown? Right here. This is x data. It refers to the value chosen from these options. So if I choose x will be cast, then it just means that this will equal to cast, this will equal to cast. And then y refers to the second dropdown. So if I choose, come on, under trial, this will refer to under trial. Well, this will refer to under trial, this will refer to under trial, and this will be the under trial as well. And that's it. I have my bar graph with a data frame, with the data being used, the x-axis, this column data as x-axis, this column data as the y-axis, and then I just create the graph that goes inside the second div of the layout, right? If you go in here, you'll see cast, and then the y-axis under trial, create graph, and this should create our cast system where you see a sum of all people under trial in each by caste in India. Others OBC, ST, SC, right? You can see it by year, you can see it by, you can change the y-axis, you can do anything you want with it. So this is the overview of this code. I hope this was helpful. The upload component is very, very powerful in that it allows you to allow the user to analyze their own data, to do data visualization of their own data, as opposed to you choosing the data from an Excel sheet or you choosing the data from the internet and showing them your analysis. Now they can analyze their own data. If you like access to this, I hit the Jupyter option checklist. This I'm going to put on my GitLab, and this is this, like I showed you at the beginning of the video, this will allow the user to upload an Excel sheet and then decide which graph they would like to analyze their data with, right? So let me show you right here. Play this, 1 second. So now if they upload their Excel sheet into here, they have the data table of the Excel sheet, and they can choose if they want to see a bar graph or a scatter plot. Maybe they want to see a scatter plot of the correlation between detainees and people under trial. They can create that scatter plot graph, and now you see there's not a lot of correlation here. There's much more correlation between under trial and convicts, which makes sense if you think of it, like right here, right? So this is on my GitLab code. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. I do have more components that I go over in my in other tutorials. Here in my GitHub, feel free to use this GitHub. Here all the other code for the other components that I go over with Dash. Thank you for your support. Thank you for considering to support me on Patreon and on YouTube, so I can continue creating this content free of charge and teaching people all about Plotly and Dash. I appreciate it. I hope you have a lot of fun building these dashboard apps. If you have any questions, let me know on the YouTube comments below. Never give up. Keep practicing, and always remember we're better together. So help each other out. Talk to you later. Bye bye.